To our Thursday stream. This is analysis stream, subscriber stream. Mr. Slowhand, welcome Asterbait. It is Thursday night here on lichess and Twitch. Welcome, guys. We're going to do game analysis with the subscribers. I don't have too many submissions, surprisingly. No one reads my emails. Okay, we've got Uber driver, Jim, Mule Skinner, Mr. Slowhand. Actually, Mr. Slowhand was the first one to submit a game. Asterbeat, where are you? Asterbeat, do you have a submission? Where you got it in first. Who was first? Mr. Slow or Asterbait? I got Mule Skinner. Okay, so Asterbait's in the middle after Mule Skinner. We've got 5. Pawn Pusher, that's 6 days ago. That was the previous stream. Alright. Welcome, guys, to the stream. International Master William Paschall. We are doing some game analysis. We're going to be doing some game analysis here with the subscribers. Just getting started. It was unseasonably warm here in Budapest. Got the window open. You may hear some ambulances and airplanes over the course of the night. Temperature, it went up like incredibly in one day. It's supposed to get cold again. Tomorrow, I don't know. We will see. But it feels like spring. Insufficiently masculine. I was thinking other someone in a tournament in the hourly arena today, some beginner was like, what does I am stand for? And I was trying to come up with all the, I didn't write in anything, but insufficiently macho, inordinately masculine. What else? Impotent master. There's lots of possibilities we come up with. Possibilities. Alright, correspondence game. Check, master. Always check, it might be mate. Get a little bit of correspondence on there. Impotent micro penis. Well, we're getting kind of graphic now. But anyway, we appreciate it, Bob. Thank you. Alright, so we got Thursday analysis. Mr. Slow, Mule Skinner, Asterbait, Jim, and Uber driver. That's 5. It's just us real men in here anyway. You already scared off all the girls and women, and it's just hopeless anyway, so. Hopeless anyway. Just men in here. Embarrassing. It's like a bowling night. Don't want to insult Mr. Coffee. Where is he? He's not here yet. I don't want to put down bowling night. There's probably more women in bowling than in chess, though. Sadly. Sad but true. Anyway, Bob, we're going to get started. So we've got... I'm so sick of like politics and coronavirus. We're going to try to focus on chess today. Mr. Slowhand is first. Let's get to that. Mr. Slowhand is in the house, too. Eric Clapton. Hungary is, it's good that Donald Trump blocked all flights from Europe because we have like 16 people with coronavirus. I'm not allowed to go to a country where there's like already like 1,000, a few thousand. No, whatever. It's not an epidemic here yet. But Hungary is a fairly small country. We just don't have an epidemic of it yet. I'm sure that it will become an issue. Feel free to have a look at it Thursday. So, I had a really tough game this Friday. This is Mr. Sloan. Had a lucky win in typical all-or-nothing attack in the King's Indian defense. Feel free to have a look at a Thursday subscriber game analysis. Well, the issue is, Bob, that, most flights are canceled now. Even if you could go back to the United States, how would you get there? The whole airline industry is like gonna shut down. I think I'll take a cruise. I was thinking of taking a romantic cruise. Maybe that would be the best way. We'll take a romantic cruise through Italy and the Mediterranean. Um, but you know, at least I'm allowed to go back to the United States. I think I'll go in November. That's I think the best time to visit the United States. We'll be visiting in November for sure. Actually, I can vote abroad. It's not a problem. But anyways, all jokes aside, let's get our coffee on before we get started. This is Mr. Slowhand's game. Game 1 Club Championship. King's Indian Madness. Actually, Mr. Slowhand crushed me the last time he played the King's Indian against me in an F3. Alright, let's take a look. From the black side. From the black side. Knight F3, Knight F6, C4. G6, Knight C3, Bishop G7, E4, D6, D4, castles, Bishop E2, E5, classical King's Indian, now with D5. So it's Alms versus Mr. Slowhand. We haven't seen Alms lately since the tournament on Tuesday. He doesn't often submit games for the subscriber stream. You're a heavy smoker, so coronavirus has no chance. Alcohol, I think, is the best way to kill viruses. Alcohol probably have an advantage over smokers, actually, Mr. Slowhand. D5. That's why I've got my beer here. The beer's not really strong enough, though. We really need like a short drink. Vodka. Very strong. Straight up vodka. D5, Knight A6. I'm sterilizing my system. Excel Poker said, what? How are you? Just tuned in. I'm good. Thank you. We're just starting the subscriber analysis here. So, the wonderful world of Petrosian system against the King's Indian. The main line is A5, but Slowhand plays the Weedmaster variation with Knight A6. I don't know, what's up with this. I guess this Knight D2 is a move. My friend Joseph Fong, who's my was my house sitter. Well, I had a house. Is an international master when he's not sitting in houses, and he used to play Knight A6. I remember a game he had with Georgi Orlov, but I never really quite got it. I mean, all the main lines like for black here involve A5. So I'm not really sure. Knight A6. I know that it's a move. There are those players with the white side who will do stuff like Knight D2, H4. And sometimes this knight will even migrate back to F1, the beginning of some kind of king side. That was like when I was in college and I got something and I went to the health services at my university and they were like, oh, your test came back positive for mononucleosis. I was like, Jesus, how did I get that? And that, like, within hours of getting diagnosed with mononucleosis, one of my friends called me and they were going to some bar, and we just have a friend who's this bartender. So he hooked us up with like free drinks like the whole afternoon. We drank and drank and drank like with free drinks for hours, tallying up this huge bill that we didn't really have to pay. And finally, like, I just cured myself. It was just, I wasn't sick anymore after that. It just totally, I don't know if it's been done before, but alcohol just totally eliminated the mononucleosis from my system. I'm not sure I would recommend it as a scientifically proven therapy, But it might work for coronavirus too. But I don't want to spread any fake news. You know, this is just it's just an experimental treatment. Yeah, it just died. I mean, they might have been wrong or something about my diagnosis, but I wasn't sick anymore. I mean, once I got over the initial hangover, like the next day. But anyway, let's focus on chess. Knight a6, castles. See, that's one advantage. White can leave that king in the center in the Trojan. That's I mean, that's really flexible. White doesn't commit to the kingside castling. Bishop g5 is the most common move. But it's funny, like, I'll turn off the engine, but in any case, regardless of the engine, this move is a really serious question. So after knight d2, you play h5. Yeah, I don't know anything about this. I never played it with white, and I never played it with black. The computer is going nuts. I mean, you know, from some sort of reliable sources, I guess. You know, I don't know. Grandmaster Bologan, or who's your teacher? Some kind of King's Indian book recommended this for black? I'm not quite sure. I like it. You know, I'm going to stick with my a5. My personal recommendation is to stick with a5. Alright, so knight a6, castles, knight c5, queen c2. And now here I've been here before, a lot, by transposition. We're just transposing to the different variation that's actually considered fairly harmless. a5, bishop g5. I think I've also faced bishop e3 here. And I'm not sure, like, on bishop e3 even what the best move is. I had a game once on the stream, Gallagher. Gallagher, you're going back in time. That's really old. Almost as old as me. Bishop g5. There's got to be something more recent we can do for research here. Periodicals on the Petrosian King's Indian. This, I don't know. That move, I faced knight e1. That looks super lame. Okay, this is the standard move. Now we played h6, and then white can play bishop e3 or bishop h4. I think I had a game on the stream in this exact position. I don't remember who it was against, but I'm pretty sure I was black here and played like g5 in a recent stream. Speaking of Victor Bologan. Yeah, it had to be this. I had to have played this on the stream. I normally don't like to do h6 and g5 before I played f5. This seems to be best, though. Against you in the simul? No. I'm talking about playing with black. Man, I'm talking about playing this exact position with black. This exact game we had in a stream game, and I played g5 and knight h5, I'm pretty sure. But I don't really like doing that unless I have to. No, I play both sides of the King's Indian. Bishop g3, here you played, this is knight h5. Okay, bishop e3. Yeah, this I've also faced on the stream. I think I had this in a game in the New England Open like 5 years ago when I won it against the FIDE master, Nelson Castaneda. I'm pretty sure I played b6 here. So that's solid. You know, the idea is to take toward the center with b take c. The other tempting moves are obviously like knight g4 and knight h5. But b6 feels like a little bit of a concession. You kind of weaken the squares here and lose some flexibility when you play b6. So I don't think it's that easy to play either. And I don't have that great of a score. I did win that game. It was the last round, must-win game to win a 6-round tournament. But I wasn't happy to play this, really. Your move 98 is interesting. I mean, it's kind of classic. 98 supporting the d6 point. We can come with a knight to d6, blockading with a knight on d6. This looks reasonable. White is an extremely strong score with the move knight d2, but the engine is calling for these weird rook moves that have never been played before. Stockfish, I'm going to turn it off. It overvaluates space advantage. Like, it freaks out. It says, like, every time that white has a pawn on d5 in a standard queen pawn position, it's like +1. I think you need to just basically cut Stockfish evaluations in half. You know, realistically, when it says it's like +1, just think about it like half a pawn. That's realistically for a human, I think, like what white's advantage is. Oh my god, dude. We're gonna have to time him out. We're gonna have to time. What are you looking for? Information on snake oil? You have a collector bookstore nearby. They have 2 bookcases, 30. What? Chess books. Any authors I should look for? Number 4. We should look for number 4. Very reliable openings to recommend. The Art of Losing a Pawn with White. Alright, anyway. 98, 92, f5, f3. The other option here is not really... You know, I mean, I guess you can play e takes f. Actually, that's what most people did. Darcy Lima is still 25-35. Not easy for 50-ish grandmasters to stay over 2,500. They must not have a shortage of rating points in Brazil. It seems like we have like a rating ghetto here in Budapest. There's no rating points. Like, the whole country has just like been drained of rating points. I live in the rating ghetto. But e takes f5, g takes f5, and f4 with the classic blockading plan. Speaking of snake oil salesman. Alright, we've got e4. This is a very, very classic, solid way for white to play. I feel a lot safer about that. Del Rio Ajadis. But, you know, what are you going to do? He played this. So now the Petrosian system turns into what looks like a classical King's Indian. f4, bishop f2, g5. Generally speaking, I mean, it's not that common for the Petrosian to turn into a classical King's Indian style game. Usually it's a little bit different. Balkus, what's up? Thanks, man. Good to see you. Got serious analysis. No bullet chess. Just really trying to understand the game. G5, A3, exactly what Korobov played. The only game here. Now black played H5. Igor Ivanov versus Vitaly Golod back in 1992. Igor was pro 2500. Was still near his youth. Yeah, I mean, this normally I would think would be good for white. Generally speaking, feels like white is making progress here. Kind of classic position. Yeah, we're not happy about our knight getting sent back. That's why it's not a classical King's Indian. Play the Lena system. Oh my god. Yeah, Cyrus Lakdawala, I mean, I don't really know him, but he's like the man who plays the most boring open repertoire in life. You know, he plays the London system with white, like the Slav with black, and he plays the Caro-Kann. It's, well, that's exciting. You play one pawn structure. I would just give it up, man. You know, whatever works for him, but to play one pawn structure your whole life, I mean, that's pretty limiting. Knight a6, queen b3, g4. He's a strong player. He was strong. I am. I mean, I think good player, but I couldn't do that. You know, just to play one thing for my whole life. So now king h1, and it looks like we've got Korchnoi style plans here with bishop g1. Feels like the queenside should be caving with c5. And any sort of g3 can be met by bishop g1. I mean, I'm not a fan of playing this with white. I would have played e takes f5 and f4. So, you know, you take your risk. Theoretically, it should be a good position for white, I think. But it's very, very sharp. The engine doesn't agree. The engine already thinks black is better. So I'm not sure. Maybe white's last move was a mistake. King h1 unnecessary. But I understand why he wants to play bishop g1. I mean, I don't know. That looks pretty logical, actually. Queen b3 is a suspect move, I guess. It's funny here that two players played queen d1, holding up g4. Black will apparently, you know, I would guess, do like rook f7, bishop f8, rook g7. So this may be the real time eater, you know, queen b3, really not doing anything and wasting time while black just gets on with it with g4. You know, if he had played king h1 here, probably, you know, that's a little bit better. But look, what would Korobov do? He's a very strong player. Actually, 4 games where this was reached. One going back 2002. Rook f6, idea rook g6. Kind of typical King's Indian plan. But I don't know, I'm suspecting queen b3. g4, king h1, queen g5 now. So if g3, you know, you could sack a pawn. First of all, it's possible that white could take it. And secondly, white can play this. What we really need is a knight that can go to f6, h5, and get into g3. Because when you take on h2, white's going to play like maybe bishop f2 or something like that and try to make a human shield out of that pawn on h2 maybe. I don't play this with white. I don't do bishop g1. You know, I don't play the classical Korchnoi variation or anything. I will not participate in this with the white pieces. I value my life more than getting checkmated. You've got to be like a defensive expert, you know, to play this type of position with white. Queen g5, c5, g3, bishop g1. Oh, snap. And now a really neat move, bishop h3. That is creative. Now the question arises, you know, is black threatening anything? He doesn't exactly have, you know, like the ultimate setup for checkmating white, you know. I mean, normally you wouldn't have like rook f7, bishop f8, rook g7, maybe the knight is getting in there somewhere. It feels like black is actually trying to checkmate white with only 2 pieces. So I'm a little skeptical that this actually works. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's almost like hope chess. It might be a strong move, though. But it seems like whatever we do, we're going to have to strengthen our attack first. You're going to have to play like rook f7 or rook f6 or whatever to build on the attack. White now takes on g3, but does he have to take on g3? I mean, is black threatening anything in this position? Because I don't understand like what black is threatening. If you take on h2, then we take on h3. I mean, that's the whole point. I don't know what white should do. I don't know what black should do. But this doesn't seem right. You know, maybe... Well, I mean, it's got to be bad. H takes g3. The engine says c6. I just don't like h takes g3. G takes h2 as a threat, but why is it a threat? What am I missing? If white just like played rook a2, rook, I don't know. If white just played any move, whatever. Knight b1, I mean, just make an irrelevant move. Rook a2. Let's see. Let's just do an irrelevant move. I don't know, rook a2. That's not that irrelevant. Whatever, rook b1. What are you threatening? You're threatening g takes h2. Why is that a threat? Like white's taking here? This is good? Is this definitely good for black? Take. Queen h4. Bishop f1. Queen f2. No. I mean, maybe. I don't know. You get in there on the dark squares a little bit. But I wouldn't say it's like white is getting checkmated or something. Is it really a threat? Let's see. No, it's not good. Apparently, though, you are threatening h4. This apparently is not a bad move. If white does nothing. I'm still kind of skeptical. But whatever. Alright. Bishop h3 takes. This looks like a definite mistake. I mean, now this is like really serious. I mean, queen h4 is going to be like winning by force. Plus his knight's hanging. Does white have f4? That's the question that we all want to know about. Yes. Obviously, if queen h4, knight f3, maybe that doesn't really... If rook takes f4, I don't know. That's what happened. Now if knight f3, I mean, I guess you can just play, if knight f3, queen g6, just retreat. So rook f4, OMG. Wow. So this is an insane move. Bishop g4. Does that actually work? You know this from a Nakamura game? Interesting. Bishop takes g4. I did not ever see this. Bishop g4 is the only move for black. I'm not going to bother with the engine. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mr. Slowhand. Rook takes f4. Takes, knight f1. That's the only move. Or knight f3. That's not going to help. Knight f3 would just take it and win by force. So knight f1 is the only move. Now check. Could white play knight h2? This is some crazy stuff. This is like one of the weirdest King's Indians I've ever seen. It's totally all or nothing. Bishop h6, queen a4, bishop f4. I mean, how can white be playing moves like queen takes a5 in a situation like this? It's just ridiculous. Rook g4, hg4, knight f1, queen h4, check, bishop h2, bishop h6, and now queen a4. If he doesn't have a better move than that, then I guess he's just lost. Because we're threatening to build up here on the king's side. Okay, queen a4. Not so easy, actually. I guess black doesn't have a clear threat. Can we go back? I spent a lot of time on this game, but I already don't like it. I mean, I would not play bishop h3 in this position. It's just you're attacking with two pieces, you know. But still, it was interesting. f4. This is a really cool resource, bishop g4. You kind of like went headlong into a situation where it was almost impossible to evaluate what was going on, you know, instead of just building the position gradually. We're just sort of like hoping this is good. We have really no threat. We could take here and that's it. You know, there's no way to actually checkmate white unless we can get knight in here. But I mean, I can't even imagine like why white wants to do stuff like queen takes a5. Even queen a4, I thought, okay, he wants to get the queen in here. But what kind of move is queen a5? I mean, is this just like trying to win a piece with b5? Queen f2 is a way in. Yeah, that's nasty. So it's very possible he just missed that. No, he didn't. He played g3. This move surprised white. Again, threatening what? Exactly. Queen f2 followed by g3. Besides the fact that you're threatening the knight on c3. This defends against queen f2. You got g3. It's like the weirdest game ever. Does anybody know what the material is here? Black's down a piece. You're threatening what? We're threatening what? Queen e4, mate in 1. Check, knight g2, queen d4. Jeez. This is so bizarre, dude. And then the rook goes. Very strange, man. I mean, I don't know. It is such a strange game for even for a King's Indian. I've never seen a Petrosian system played like that. It's kind of typical for a classical. You know, it is a classical, but like a mainline Mar del Plata variation. But normally the game has a different character in the Petrosian variation. But I mean, maybe he was winning it just very alien for this type of variation. I mean, I would definitely play e takes f, g takes f, and f4. Black does not get to have that kind of fun of any sort of all-in style play. You know, this is just a lot safer for white. Kramnik would not go for what he did. Nevertheless, it might be good. It's just too... It requires too much, like, precise defense for white, I think. playing this other type of position that he got into. I mean, I would think that's why people play the Petrosian system versus like the classical main line with white, because they don't want to play positions like this. They want to play something a little less all or nothing. And so the guy just ends up in this all or nothing type of position anyway. But it's interesting, you know, like traditionally black is not supposed to have enough attack here. These pieces are not really set up. And basically, slow hand just attacked the guy with 2 pieces. This should not really work for black here. But again, white has to be like a very, very proficient defender to play this kind of position. I wouldn't even touch it, you know, as we say in English. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, you know, even if it's objectively good for white. A computer can play lines like this. I don't want to be that close to the precipice. But it's a matter of style. Okay, Antoni just submitted a position. Sorry I couldn't give more precise analysis on this game, but the King's Indian, it's something that's pretty complicated. We can't really calculate all the tactics in this game in a 10-minute analysis. All right, so we spent a lot of time on the first game. Thank you, Mr. Slowhand. It was beautiful, though. I mean, the end position is something really. I guess he could play on, but it doesn't really have much point, you know. Knight F1 or something. This is not looking too good. He's not looking too healthy here after Knight F1. All right. So, Mule Skinner is up next. Mr. Sohan, thank you for the donation of 1,500 bits. Thank you for playing a cool game to share with us. 1,500 bits leading the way for this week. Also like to thank Jim C. Wizzo. I thought we had one more. Yes, WJ Loof with 200 bits the other day. Thank you guys. So that was long. It takes me a while to get started in these analysis streams. I don't mean to go for like half an hour on one game, but it was a very complicated position. We still didn't really figure out a lot. I just think that Bishop H3, it's creative, but I doubt that that's the best way to play the position. Padron Antoni, okay, we'll do that later. Mule Skinner is up next. Game number 2, by the way. Wait, I could just go to any comment. I forget our new system here. So Thursday subscriber analysis. Here's another game from Overboard Tournament. In this game, I was white against a 15-year-old FM. They're all 15-year-old FMs. FM isn't what it used to be. You know, now it's just like you go over 2,300, you automatically become an FM. It used to be more of a respectable title. You had to maintain 2,300 for 27 games was the rule. I actually didn't get the title in 1993 when I should have gotten it because the USCF didn't submit my application for FM. Even though I had 27 games over 2,300, they waited too long to submit it, and then I went under. Nowadays, it's much simpler. You just automatically get FIDE Master when you cross over 2,300, but unfortunately, there's a lot of, because of the FIDE rating system now, there's a lot of people, especially kids, who they artificially are sent over 2,300 by their inflated K factors. And so we have a lot of artificial FIDE Masters now who are really 2,100 players. They're just like springboard up to 2,300 and they fall back down to like 2,100 where their real strength is. Maybe you got a legit. We're going to hope that Mule Skinner, your FIDE Master 15-year-old is a legit FIDE Master, because we got a lot of these fake FIDE Masters floating around. All right, so game number 2. There's 2 problems with FIDE, though. Making the FIDE Master title easier and the 40K factors that people's ratings can like spring up and down like 300 points in 1 month or something. That shouldn't be able to happen. So Mule Skinner is playing the French defense. Or is he black? Is he white? Black. He's black. So Mule Skinner's playing against his own opening. Okay. I should read. Yeah, this is the 15-year-old FM with a 2050 FIDE rating. Okay, there's another way they get the title, and it's like they won some kind of under 12 championship. Another arbitrary thing that FIDE does, they just hand out titles like candy. Like you win some under 12 championship where nobody in the field is rated over 2,000, and they automatically give you like a FIDE master title. You know, the guy shouldn't be a FIDE master if he's rated 2050. To be fair, though, I mean, a lot of times it encourages the kids. I remember playing Luke McShane. When I played Luke McShane in like 1995, he was a 2150 FIDE master. And no, he went on to be kind of credible player. But that was also some kind of, he got the title because he maybe won some youth competition. But I guess Luke McShane deserved his FIDE master. e4, e6, d4, d5, knight d2, knight f6, e5, knight fd7. And then this is actually a bad choice by Mule Skinner's opponent. Little does he know that Mule Skinner is actually a French defense expert with the black pieces. One thing, if you ever get in a situation where you have to prepare for an opponent, if you have the time, it's a good idea to check out what they play with the other color. Sometimes people make that mistake. Like they prepare for one specific color for an opponent, not realizing that their opponent actually plays the same openings that you do. So in this case, like Mule Skinner's opponent could have prepared for him looking at his games with white, but not even realizing that Mule Skinner actually plays the French with black. It's a very important factor. So if you're going to like comprehensively prepare for an opponent, you kind of need to see what they play with both colors. Anyway, so c5, c3, knight c6. I've played this against Mule Skinner with white. Now black plays c takes d4 is like the main line. Queen b6 is also possible. So those are the two primary moves. Queen b6, obviously white has a choice between knight f3 and castles. So c takes d4 is a forcing move. We don't have any choice. I really don't know theoretically which one of these variations is better. Maybe Mule Skinner has an opinion. cd4, cd4, and now f6. So obviously you can still play queen b6 in this position. f6, I would call this kind of the main line. So there is the move knight f4, which leads to like an exchange sacrifice. This Timon Morozevich game from 2000, probably well known. It's not. It's all been analyzed, and it's supposed to be okay for black. I think it's like probably equal. But anyway, Mule Skinner probably knows that already. I'm not sure if he's here in the chat. Yeah, there he is. He is in the chat. Okay. So knight f4, whatever. It's a move. This is the main line. And now, I remember John Watson wrote the books on the French defense. I think Watson, one of the best authors on openings. Knight f4 is good if black doesn't play cd. Stronger if black doesn't play c takes d. But anyways, so I remember having one version of that Watson book on the French where he talks quite a bit about queen takes f6 here. John actually recommends that. Speaking of Bareyev, we had a Canadian player on the stream yesterday who was talking about Bareyev, but Bareyev is one of the guys who played this that I recall. And I don't know what the final analysis is. I mean, the queen goes back to like f7 oftentimes. But I'm not a French player, and I never played the Tarash in a tournament game with white, but I played it here, in Blitz against you guys. I've seen a lot of games. I don't know. I mean, maybe queen f6 is interesting. People don't know it as well. Look at the score. Black has 795 games. Black's score, I mean, I think that's statistically relevant. You know, if I'm black here and I believe in statistics, you know, you got to admit, I mean, even though there's less games with queen takes f6, that the column, the last column, I mean, 25% wins with queen f6. There's something to that, you know. That's more than a statistical anomaly. I think, you know, it's possible that queen b6 or queen f6 is more successful because people don't, either it's better or people just don't study it as much. Mikhail Gurevich. Anyway, so we go down the main line. Knight takes f6, castles, bishop d6, knight f3, castles, and I saw one of these in a tournament I played a month ago. John who? John Watson. Oh, okay. John Watson's book on d4 openings. This is just like a massively theoretical position. Bishop f4. Saw a game like this with two young players a month ago here in a local tournament, and White just kept the nagging advantage. You know, I think that's pretty standard. Bishop f4, knight f4. I mean, this is a classic principle in any kind of French defense. The dark squares are going to be a little bit of like have a tendency to be weak, and black's bad. Bishop on c8. So the strategy of exchanging dark square bishops is very common. You can trace that back, you know, 60 years. Botvinnik against Boleslavsky, which was also a Tarrasch different variation with c5. Bishop takes f4, knight takes f4, knight e4. That seems to be the main move. So our hero here with black, the little kid who's like a 2050 FIDE master, 15, okay, he's not a little kid, but one thing I will say, and I see it a lot, is that trainers of kids tend to teach them to memorize openings too much. I mean, I think that's very likely a weakness rather than a strength. But I don't think the openings are that important. Knight e4. Now White played knight e2. I don't know if Muleskinner's, he says he's not out of book here. I like this better. You can see there's a move queen c1. There's a move g3. There's an objection to playing g3. But I mean, when you play 94, we've got the Tarrasch exchange sacrifice here. You know, I don't really like allowing that. I'd rather have like a solid position and not give him anything. This looks to be, let's see, queen c1, knight g5, queen g5. This is hanging. I mean, we can play something like this. No, he doesn't want to trade queens to a slightly worse ending, so queen f6, queen e3. This seems to me better. You know, we have no risk here. I want to just slowly squeeze the opponent with a microscopic advantage in this position. That's basically what this Tarrasch is. Barn Kessler. Subscribe to Tier 1. Subscribe for 4 months. Thank you. Yeah, there is time for one more subscriber game. You'll have to send it through one of the other players since you're chat banned. Are they going to unban you so you can send messages on lichess again? All right. But anyways, yeah, I don't like allowing the opponent to wreck my king side here, even though it's theory. Rook takes f3, g takes f3, knight g5. White still got a good score, though. So Muleskinner knows more than I thought. He said, from here I was out of book. That's not really good. That's not really good. I mean, if you're going to enter into a very complex situation where the guy's making a dynamic sacrifice, like rook takes f3, you probably need to know what happens after that. I don't think it's good that your book just like ends at the beginning of the sacrifice here. You're going to be in a kind of irrational position after rook takes f3. If you're going to play this, then you need to know what you're doing, post sacrifice, not just figure it out over the board. I mean, it looks really dangerous. So I think from a practical standpoint, it's a bad place to go out of book. All right, king h1. Maybe he's lying a little bit. He found that one. e5. He's not lying. He's just not telling the absolute truth. He actually knew a little bit more theory. D takes e5. And now knight takes e5. So maybe his opponent doesn't know either. So here apparently like knight f3 is forced. I mean, white just gets winning every game after knight takes e5. Bob has a special place in his heart for people who break the rules. Chat bans and trolls. And alternative truths. Yeah, but knight takes f3. So this is a crushing score. Knight takes f3 has a really good score for black. Damn. Bishop h7, king h8, knight g1. I mean, this isn't the place I want to be if I don't know what I'm doing, man. Kramnik Ulibin, 1991. You don't want to go out of book in a sharp position like this. So you're fortunate that he didn't know that, and now you came up with knight d4. Knight g1 is definitely rather passive. So Muleskinner plays a much more active move. Knight d4 looks reasonable. Queen f6, queen b3, 3-0 here. Three and 0 for white. Now we're leaving book. Black didn't do too well with those other games. Knight e6, bishop h3, and all white wins. Obviously black doesn't develop with this move. So what's the deal? I mean, we're up the exchange. We're up an entire exchange. It's almost like a positional sacrifice for black. It's like a Petrosian. I always equated this like rook takes f3 with the Sicilian rook takes c3 sacrifice. It's more of a positional idea. But, he obviously has attacking threats. Bishop b2 looks reasonable. Rook g1. Rook g3. I mean, I'm taking white here. You're up the exchange, and he hasn't proven anything. It looks really good. Queen e3. Although, you really want to trade queens if you can get it. Now, the good news for Muleskinner, if something crazy happens, he could get back in exchange and still not be down any material. Worst case scenario. So he played f4. This is a pawn. Returning a pawn to its owner. Anyway, it was a harmless double pawn. Useless, I should say. Knight takes f4. Rook g1. Now you force him on the defensive. I like the pawn sack. The pawn was sort of useless anyway. You gave it back to get fully developed. Precarious position. Blockader here. Good position, but it's difficult. Black structure is sound. Only this weakness on d5. There's a back rank weakness. This is hanging. But it's really difficult to see like what white can do. You don't have any threats. It almost makes you feel like you should be on the C file with something. That's what you ended up doing. I mean, I wonder, at the end of the day, if you actually made a mistake here. Well, maybe it's a good move, force him to play rook f7. Now maybe we should go back. Is the c file the real point here in this position? You just sort of fake them out, you know, threaten them on g7. But it seems to me like that's the avenue where you have some real threats. You can double on the c file. Brazilian spokesperson tests positive. Are you making that up, dude? We never know. You see, that's the problem. That's the problem with Bob and people like Bob. Like, you never know when they're lying. It's the boy who cried wolf effect. It's actually true. All right. I was on the fence about it. You know, I figured 50-50. Yeah, if it was something Bob made up, it would be more like, it would be more perverted or something. It was far too, like, just, we can hope for the best. That's all we can do. Rook f7. I mean, something positive could come out of coronavirus. Rook f7. I'm sorry for the Brazilian. Rook g5. So I think that this would be interesting. Switching to the c file pressure. It looks like we're at a dead end here on the g file. Those knights are really annoying, you know. You don't know where they're going to turn. You get forked at any minute. I don't really get bishop d1. I guess Muleskinner was in time pressure at this point. It looks like your pieces are sort of optimized. I don't like bishop d1. I mean, you're leaving him like d3 for his knights, man. Okay, I see that this is a threat. I don't think I would have ventured rook g5, honestly. You know, I think you ought to just keep that rook where it is, protecting h3. If we go back a minute, okay, knight f4, rook g1, and now this is where maybe you should switch to the c file. Oh man, I'm so lucky. Yeah, I think rook c1. Try to keep him busy on the c file with like back rank threats. No worries, Trump is in perfect health. Vegetables cause decreased immunity to the virus. He knows that, of course. Rook g5. No. Yeah, queen c3 is good. I like rook c1. You know, I think Muleskinner does play queen c3. Rook e7, queen c3, bishop d7. This move is weird. You should just come back, probably. Why not just rook g3? I mean, I would keep his knight off of h3. Keep his knights off of d3. Everything seems fine. I don't think that black is threatening anything. He doesn't have a threat, does he? Yeah, your bishop's attacked. Oh my god. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Let me go back. Here, here. Now I understand why you played bishop d1. Yeah, I mean, you have a serious white square problem. When that bishop goes on e2, you have white square rupture on those squares there. Yeah, it's a pity. We don't really want to give up that white square bishop. But it may be rook g5 is a mistake. Can we play like bishop f1? Too passive. Yeah, I guess rook g5 is kind of a weird move. I don't know. Even that's okay. Dynamic equality, the best you can get here. I really don't want him to get our white square bishop. I can understand why you played bishop d1. But on the other hand, like, his knight is a monster too on f4. One move threat. Can we play rook c1 threatening queen c8 check? Is it actually a threat? That's an interesting idea. We're dropping a rook there. Okay, that one has to come back. Okay, we have to come back, it looks like. Allow this. Take, and then this is extremely scary. I mean, obviously, You know, Mule Skinner would lose his blockade of d4. The white squares would be weak. f2's hanging. It looks extremely precarious. You know, this also looks precarious. What happened in the game? Bishop d1. Yeah. So you lost on time here, but this is actually the crushing move. Yeah, this is not easy. But I think coming back, we try to survive this. There's no way you should lose in like 2 moves from an equal position. But I think you did it to yourself, you know. And it's like the last game where White got... Why did White lose the last game? Why did you lose this game? Practical reasons. You're putting yourself in a position that's very hard to play. A computer is fine, it's no problem. The same with the first opponent against Mr. Slowhand. You know, again, like, okay, it's just a hard position to play. You know, it's an okay position. But I don't think you should allow things like rook takes f3. You know, I sound like a backdoor driver here, but I mean, seriously, I am not allowing rook takes f3. You know, there's no way. If you don't, you know, if you're going to play this variation, I mean, you need to not allow that, or at least know exactly what you're doing. It's the same as White allowing like that kingside attack in the King's Indian in the last game. It's just much easier for Black to play from a strategically, like, you know, practical standpoint. It's I think that's why you lost. That's why Mr. Slowhand's opponent lost. It's not a question of like who the stronger player is. It's just like it's just an easier position to play for the other player. All right, so we've got Acerbate up next. Acerbate, where's your Thursday subscriber commentary stream? Guys, please support the stream. Using the engine here is cheating. I'm defending myself against coronavirus. Sanitizing my mouth. Unfortunately, beer doesn't have enough alcohol by volume. We need something stronger. 25 viewers. Please donate and support the stream. Mr. Coffee is in the house. Good to see you, man. Are you off tomorrow? Mr. Coffee's favorite day is Friday. And Tony, how's the lockdown? All right, where is Acerbate's game? Where is it? Thursday commentary stream 00011. Totally locked down. What does that mean? Like you can't leave your house now? I hope not. You're allowed to like get out and walk around, right? We can't get out if not for emergency. You mean like out of your house? Seriously? What? Oh my god. That's ridiculous. I don't understand how you can even expect that from a population the size of northern Italy. Well, I mean, you're going to have to go out and buy food. So you are allowed out, technically. It's basically like, I don't know, like a zombie apocalypse. Can you buy food during a zombie apocalypse? Acerbate, you know, we could report you for being a computer based on this game alone. 0 inaccuracies, 0 mistakes, 0 blunders, 11 sent upon loss. By the way, yesterday I played like a 1000 blitz player who played like a master. If you're gonna cheat and you're like 1000 player, you know, and you play like a master, he actually wasn't using a computer. He like had a friend who was clearly a master playing on his account. I mean, I could tell the difference between a computer, 1000 level player and a 2200 level player. You know, I can tell the difference, believe it or not. If you're gonna like cheat with a friend playing on your account, make sure they're like within 400 rating points of yourself. Probably good advice. So e4, c6, knight f3, d5. Acerbate's pet variation against Caro-Kann. I told him not to do this, but he insists. It's not really the most accurate exchange variation against the Caro-Kann, but he improved. This is cool. This is Acerbate's first pan of attack. You had a girlfriend who was 900, asked me to defend her honor against someone at lichess once. Oh, Bob, the confessional is open. One problem there, all the Italian churches are closed, Bob. There's no confessional for you to go to. You need to carry with us a signed certificate with the reasons why we're outside of our houses. If they stop us for controls. See, this is where police abuse starts. They'll start abusing their powers. Martial law is what you're talking about now. That's the word I was trying to remember, martial law. Essentially martial law. So, it is really messed up, you know. I think the 205 euro bribe, yeah. This is Acerbate's first ever pan of attack with white. We got to give him a pat on the back for playing this. Are you ready? c4. So he's progressing. Acerbate has never pulled the trigger on the critical move, probably, in an exchange Caro-Kann, trying to put pressure on the opponent's position with c4. This is a huge step for anybody, you know, who's maybe playing this opening. You know, in the past, he's played like this, like really lame bishop e3. This is the only move, dude, that poses any threat to black. So congratulations, now you're playing real chess, the more London system. Knight f6, knight c3. The problem here is Acerbate's move order. If you want to win, you probably have to do the exchange variation with like the normal move order. Either d4 or c4, d5, takes, d4, and then you play knight c3 first. So that in the event of knight c6, I recommend playing bishop g5. I've been playing this for like 25 years with white, but bishop g5 is avoiding the draw variation that Acerbate is now going to encounter. The dreaded Caro-Kann draw variation. I played this with black myself a lot. You see in the game, knight c6, c4, knight f6, knight c3, and then bishop g4. The game over, forced draw. This is my game with Edgar McCormick from the U.S. Amateur Championship in 1990. I was black. Only got a draw with black. Edgar would later die while holding the title of U.S. Amateur Champion. I was wondering if I was... It's kind of morbid, but do I become U.S. Amateur Champion by default when the current title holder dies? Is that how it works? I was second on tiebreak, so... Kind of morbid thought, though. Sorry for sharing that. But it's been a long time ago. I figured not hurting anybody's feelings. I just wondered, did I become U.S. Amateur Champion when he passed away while holding the title? Important questions we have to ask. Bishop g4, so c takes d5. I think that's what he played. Yeah, this is pretty much forced. C takes d5, knight takes d5, and now Edgar played something lame. Like, he just wanted to draw. It was the last round, and he wanted to draw and win the title, and I let him draw on a few moves. So he played something like lame, bishop e2. But the critical move here is queen b3. Now you know, Acerbate. Queen b3, bishop takes f3, G takes F, E6, Queen takes B7, Knight takes D4. You just have to memorize all this. It's really not that difficult. Bishop E5 check. Knight takes B5, Queen C6 check, and now King E7. And then Queen takes B5, Queen D7, Knight takes D5 check. It's easy. Queen takes D5, Queen takes D5, E takes D5. And Mr. Donkey claims that this position is slightly better for white. I don't agree. I think that black is fully equal here. A lot of people have this misconception that white is better in this endgame because of the queenside pawn majority. But the practical results pretty much bear it out. White doesn't really have an advantage here, but black has to be very accurate. It's pretty easy to draw. So Asterbate just has to memorize all that. It's really easy. There was a funny game that Ryazantsev lost with white like 2 years ago. Trying to play for a win by avoiding like the main line somehow. I don't remember what he did. But I thought it was ironic that he played this with white and then went on to lose. I've almost never seen anyone like lose with white in this line. Basically, it's meant to be like a draw. Asterbate, though, you have to avoid it, probably. You have to avoid it, which means not playing this move order. So ultimately, you should play a different move order altogether. Probably like D4, D5, take, C4, Knight C6, Knight C3, Knight F6, and Bishop G5. But anyway. Alright, so Asterbate played CD, Knight takes, and Bishop C4, which is playable. Lars Oskar played this for a draw with the white pieces. 2020. It's like a Norwegian guy. He plays like Blitz in his normal games. I try to teach people not to do that, but you just can't teach these kids. Bishop C4. So now we're hoping for like Knight B6, Bishop takes F7 check. This is a success. Asterbate's first ever Panov. His opponent plays here Knight B6, losing by force. Okay, it's not losing by force. Bishop F7, obviously black needs to play E6, and it's equal. It's actually a Tarrasch. Probably you can play like Bishop E3. I'm actually not sure what happens here. Like castles, Bishop takes F3, Queen F3, Knight takes D4. That's a little bit weird, you know, like that could be complicated. There's a game from 2018. Black doesn't have to take that pawn though. The engine doesn't like Bishop takes F3. So the true professionals know to just develop and not be greedy. Like Donchenko. Alexa. Alexa Donchenko. Don't say that in the wrong place. What is he going live from, Bob? Vermont Studios? Okay, Bernie Sanders needs to go now. Needs to go and go away. Needs to go away, basically. Go back to the Senate and start doing some work. Or we're just going to end up where we are. We all know Bernie's opinions and stuff, but he needs to go back and start doing some work as a U.S. Senator. Knight takes D5, Bishop C4, Knight B6. Alright, what are we going to do? We got to take here, Knight G5 check. Just as long as Bernie doesn't make Donald Trump president again. Because that's the only thing he can really achieve at this point. King G8, Queen takes g4. And now queen takes d4. Not a good move. So the first question is, where should the black king go? Yeah, I mean, not everybody likes Bernie Sanders. I'm sorry. But that's the fact of the matter. Alright, knight g5, check, king g8. Let's go here. How about king e8? Maybe from the practical standpoint. Anyway, so even king g8 is playable here, here, and we just need to play knight takes d4, defending e6, excuse me. So, black isn't mated. He's got defensive e6. Castle's kingside. And then I guess queen d7, Astorbate's favorite concept. No, I'm not a Bernie fan. A socialist country. No, Bob, Hungary is not a socialist country. Bishop takes f7 check, king takes, knight g5 check. Here, queen takes g4. Queen takes d4, queen e6. Checkmate. Knight takes d4. Yeah, this is actually not that simple. I mean, after queen d7, Astorbate's going to have to grind him down here. I think this would be an interesting exercise for a player of Astorbate, Astorbate's rating level. The king is not the problem. The problem is the rook, right? No, I think you're wrong. You're wrong, Juicebox. Gotta have more faith. The people will decide. People will decide. I have faith, man. Trump is going out in November. If I have to go back and vote personally, it won't matter though. I'm a registered voter in Massachusetts. There's no need for me to go home. King g8. I can move to a different state before November. I guess my vote would count if I register here as an overseas voter, more than it would count for Massachusetts. I think you'll be surprised, There might be a revolution of Trump supporters starting a revolutionary war, like a civil war or something, but I think he will lose. Nothing crazy happens between now and November. I'm optimistic for the first time. Queen takes d4, queen e6 check. Good job, Astorbate. All right, let's go on to the next game. We've got the Jimster. Got an hour left, and Jim is up. Bob, did you ever send me that? You did send it to me. Okay. Our band member. Guys, please support the stream. This is not a political channel. There are political channels on Twitch, which is kind of effed up. I noticed there's like political streams. Dude. That's kind of weird, but whatever. Alright, Jim is like, game for Thursday. A fun one against an opening I have to face a lot, where I implemented some new ideas. Always good. Son of Kaisha. I like the occasional political bantering, but I don't want the stream to be about politics. So, Son of Kaisha. What is he, Serbian? I can't remember now. Yeah. From Serbia. Son of Kaisha is white. Kaisha is the god of chess. Jim is black. We've seen this battle before. It's interesting, Jim had 4 inaccuracies, no mistakes, no blunders. Quite a good game. There's a lot weirder streamers than politics. I don't want to know, okay? I'm a very naive person, as you know, so I want to live in my little naive bubble. Okay, please don't spoil it for me, Mr. Coffee. I'm sure you've checked it out. Any tips for brand new players? You and Bob can do a full investigation with Juicebox. I'm starting to talk like other chess player. No names, but what do we got here? Son of Kaisha. I saw that at a baseball game, Juicebox. That was disgusting. There was a guy, he got on national television by doing it at like a New York Mets game or something. It's horrifying. Yeah, just whatever, man. Please don't start telling me things like that. You basically spoil my puerile existence. Knight c3, d5. Son of Kaisha White, Jim Black, d4. Jesse Cry claims, according to Move 11, who watched the stream, that d4 is not as good as pawn takes e4. I mean, that's malarkey. Obviously, d4 is a better move. Stockfish will verify it. Space is space, you know. But I think the decision is a practical one. If you like to play open positions or closed, this is probably the better move. Not everyone likes to play closed positions. d4, at least like flavored mayonnaise. You know, maybe like with nacho flavor or something. Can you have like nacho flavored mayonnaise? That sounds better. Knight on c to e2, e5. There's also c5. I had this debate. We were looking at this with Move 11. It's kind of hard to say. I think the standard reaction is e5. You know, e5 is the main line. c5 is not bad. And of course you could do other stuff like g6. Yeah, chipotle mayo, at least that would kind of give it some sort of flavor other than that awful flavor that mayonnaise sort of naturally has. But anyway, while you're repulsing our viewers, let's move on to a new topic. So knight on c to e2, e5, f4. That is a move, the f4. And I don't know what the best is for white, honestly. This is supposed to be the main line. There's the experimental pawn sack I mentioned with h5. That's interesting. But this is the main line. We talked about this in one previous stream. I think that might have been a gym game as well. All right, so f4, e takes f4, knight takes f4, bishop d6. I've never seen this before. Very, very old Johnny Hector game against the Icelander Robert Hardarson. Probably became an IM eventually. So Hardarson has weird openings too. That's an interesting matchup. This was like the year that I started to get to subscribe to Chess Life magazine, I think. 1984. Never imagined at the time President Trump would be President Trump. Kind of scary. Bishop d6, d3, and now g5. What can we say about g5? What can we say about this move? It's better than the Grob. It doesn't lose by force. We can make up lots of positive, probable, ideas about g5. Every time you move a pawn, you weaken your position. Don't forget. Almost, it puts pressure on the knight, but it's like the Trump coronavirus response. Sometimes the cure is worse than the disease. We can destroy the world economy as a response to coronavirus. I don't know if it's a good idea, but so to get rid of a knight in f4, we're playing g5 and messing up our position long term. I don't think that's right. Optimistic space grabbing. Yeah, I mean, the knight looks really bad, like coming to h5. It's like a permanent visitor you can never get rid of. You know that friend when you were a little kid who came to your house? His name was Bob. And like your parents and you like always wanted him to go home, but he never would. It's like that. You know, after G5, you got that visitor that just never goes home. You know, his parents hate him too. He never wants to leave because, you know, he's not as hated as much at your house openly. Um, the queen side. It feels like the queen side. I wish it was the queen side after G5. Maybe we will castle queen side. I mean, it's kind of funny though. I want it to be the queen side now. I don't want a castle over there anymore. Having played G5, it's an ugly move. All right, Bishop D6. This is a good move. D3. This is not a good move. This is a good move. And now we've done the damage, so this is a plan where we're preparing to play knight F6 now. Basically, white. I like white. There's only the one small problem that the bishop on E2 is kind of restricted, but actually, even that looks pretty good. It can come out here to G4. No, it's okay, Jet. I appreciate it. You gave me a good topic to talk about. The delayed grob. The super grob. What is it? The matcha grob. The delayed matcha grob. Matcha grob with black. Bishop E2. Actually, sadly, like the engine doesn't like this move, but it's a good idea. It also is reminiscent of like what looks like almost like a king's gambit. Basically, white is essentially playing a kind of really weird king's gambit. Or like a Philidor with F4 with white. The engine calls for H4. It's a very sharp move. Not easy to play. This fails to G4. That's the reason why Bishop E2 is a mistake. Because if takes, you have Queen H4 check. This is the only problem. Otherwise, Bishop E2 would be a great positional move for white. But actually, they both missed it. Basically, Jim just stuck with his plan. He played H6 to defend the G5 pawn, so he could play knight F6 and trade off the monster on H5. But the truth is he never should have created a monster by playing G5. Now white has the choice between trading knights, letting him take on H5, or going for this knight G7, knight F5 sort of. Might be a mistake. I mean, knight G7, king F8, knight F5, bishop F5, e takes F5. Kind of solves the problem of the black king being dubiously placed. So white just chooses to like leave it there. Knight C6, developing. And then he just provocatively plays knight G7 check. Okay, king F8. Not surprisingly, knight F5. And so like what I was talking about, so this happens now. Now the black king, you know, which I really wasn't sure which way it was going to go. So it sort of will settle here on like G7 probably. And when I see the position now, we have a situation where this knight is pretty good, this knight is pretty good, and the bishop is pretty good. And I don't think that black has a bad piece. He's actually better developed though. You know, in G5 it's a weakness, but it's not that big a deal anymore. F5 pawn could be weak. Black's actually ahead in development. He could bring the rook over to the E file down here. So black's suddenly better. You know, it's kind of, you know, forgivable what white did. He thought like he's better. From the beginner's standpoint, you know, black loses his right to castle or whatever. But Son of Kaisha is an advanced enough player that he should realize he's just wasted too much time. G4. Practical. I mean, now we're actually threatening H4. But black has bishop G3 check. So the king is a problem. Rook E8. Man, it looks bad. King F1. So white does the same thing. King G2. On the white squares, he'll be safe, at least to some degree. Jim has an interesting possibility of playing H5. You know, I'm not sure though. It looks like white might be able to take that pawn. As dangerous as that looks. and knight e5, stopping h4, and now queen c6, a one-move threat. When I see this position, I see a bad bishop, and I see a bad bishop here, but black's bad bishop is probably better than white's bad bishop. If you could trade the dark square bishops in this position, that would be great. But more importantly, what black has to do is to exploit the weakness on the dark squares. And effectively what I'm talking about is knight d5, probably in here. All the black pieces can kind of go in on the dark squares, and white's bishop becomes like basically a decoration. That bishop will not play on the dark squares. So it's like here is Bobby Fischer, 2 Caro-Kann games where Fischer lost with white. The same theme, both games. The dark square bishops got traded and Fischer had a bad white square bishop, and he just lost. That's basically what I'm seeing here. A Fischer-Keres Caro-Kann type position where white's just like toasted on the dark squares. Knight d5 is probably the biggest problem facing white here. Let's see what the engine says. It wants to break with h5, which is a really dynamic move. I mean, g5 is not protected. That would require like some serious calculation. I probably would have just played this. When the computer says that white is like -2 or 3. Not even down any material, you're -2 or 3 pawns. Knight d5 looks really good. This is just kind of a one-move threat. Yeah, I mean, like bishop f3, it's like you don't really want to improve that white square bishop. The check on g7 wasn't the point of the position. Well, I think that Jim actually wanted him to check on g7. Okay, he lost his right to castle queenside. White was supposed to go back to h5 though. If you look with the computer, he should actually return back to h5. That's a very subtle move. You'd have to be a very high level player to appreciate that. It looks like you're just going backward. But you don't allow your position to be wrecked, and you don't allow the e pawn to be dragged up to f5, and you don't allow black to open the e file here. That's a subtle move, difficult to play, even for a player of my level. You know, you instinctively you don't want to like go back the way you came, you know, just retreating. So Jim had a really good game, but queen c6 is kind of artificial. And luckily, you know, white didn't. What do we do now? Like queen b6 or something? Like seriously, I don't want to take that bishop on f3. But Jim probably made his job harder. I feel like our only way to like strategically win the game is to make that bishop bad, to move the queen and play like c6. I want to move the queen, play c6, and trade dark square bishops somehow with like bishop b4. Everything's on the dark squares. King g7, rook e7, rook e8, you know, whatever, down the e file. Just make it bad. Make the white square bishop a pawn, and black will win strategically. I mean, stuff like sacrifices on g4 may or may not work, but the plan is to win strategically. So maybe a5. Just take over the dark squares. Make it a pawn. If you can turn the white square bishop on f3 into a pawn, you can win the game strategically. So now it's different. Yeah, he has knight takes g4. Or this. Both are good. He wins an exchange, so it's over. But I mean, I think it's over no matter what white does here. Just down in exchange for nothing. That's at the master level where Jim and his opponent should be getting close to playing at, and they're capable of. This is game over, you know. Okay, it was a fast game, it was blitz game. This is cute, but really not very, you know, complex. tactic. If you take back, we win the piece back. Material advantage, white just resign. Respect resignation. He has 2.5 minutes left, but he's just down in exchange for nothing with his king open. No, it wasn't a bad game, Jim, but g5 was a horror show. That is a seriously bad move. I think I like h5. I like h5 better. Better move strategically. If you have to move a kingside pawn, you know, let's move the h pawn and hope he takes it. Now knight h5 not quite as strong. But also, we didn't really talk about the fact that Jim's last move, taking on f4, this is like a surrender. I don't really like taking on f4. It feels like we're surrendering a little bit, you know, like releasing the tension. Why? I mean, I like that it opens the game, but it just feels like you're blinking first here. White isn't threatening to take on e5, or is he? Maybe he is. I guess he can take on e5, huh? So, knight g3. The best move is knight c6, since there's no bishop b5. Don't read the chat, Bernie. But what's up with knight c6, f takes e5? Queen, this doesn't do anything, right? Check here, knight g3. But again, white, the same thing. It's like blinking first, although, why is this bad? Is this really bad for white? Not that clear. Just take back on e5. But it's typical opening. I mean, both sides should keep the tension when possible, especially the side with more space. I just don't think that either side should blink here. All right. So we got Jim done, and now we got Uber Driver and Tony and Martin del Campo. So we have enough time. Guys, I'm going to be back tomorrow with Blitz. 5+3 Blitz, Fast Friday. Relatively fast Friday. I'm not that fast anymore. All right. So, next up, the Uber driver and Tony, who was first. Uber's first. Oh no, it's not submitted in proper format. Termination, normal. No, it's a lichess game. The video variation. Uber driver is actually black or black. Yeah, black or black. Black or black. He is black in this game. Yours is not a game, I know. A particular position. That's fine. I've said earlier, I don't mind if you guys submit like an opening variation or a game that you didn't play yourselves. It's good to mix it up a little bit, and Tony. I don't mind at all analyzing like a position. I try to make it thoughtful. We're actually analyzing chess here. But I want to interact with the viewers. And not just about politics, Bob. Interactive chess questions while we're analyzing the game would be good. So, e4, e5. Uber driver is black. Knight c6, bishop c4, grown. Knight f6, d4, grown. I call this the boring variation. I have a long history with this because I actually worked with a grandmaster from Soviet Georgia who immigrated to the United States, Roman Gingiashvili, who briefly was an influence on me right around the time when he actually produced or created the video series for VHS back in the mid 90s, and his like masterpiece was this stupid system. His most popular video was this stupid whatever it is. What's it called? Don't even know. But it's basically like a gambit variation. I mean, it's just nothing for white if black knows what he's doing. It's basically probably like a forced draw. But he sold dozens and thousands of these videotapes promoting this variation, but it was always like, I can't believe people are buying into this, you know, thinking that this is some great, awesome variation for white. It's like nothing special, actually kind of boring, and it's like the London system of the e4, e5 realm. It's just that it's easy to play. Like he was able to promote like a really simple system for white, and that's the virtue of it. You know, it's like very easy to play. There's not a lot of choices for black. After pawn takes pawn, e5, d5, you know, there's nothing he can do. He has to play bishop e5. By the way, you know, this variation is just not as common anymore, although it's probably like even older theoretically. It's not considered quite as safe for white. You know, I think that castles is more dangerous. You more likely end up like just being down a pawn in these variations. Very romantic variation for white, but I think slightly better for black. Whereas this is probably good enough for a draw. And you can see that some people have played some weird moves like knight e4 and knight g4, but I mean this is normal. d5. This is some kind of Brian Wall like fishing pole variation or something. I don't know. d5, bishop e5, and now my recommendation is to play knight d7. Although I played that against Miralles plays this for white. This is originally like a Bronstein system. Looks like Sammy Shankland Postny. So it's coming back into fashion a little bit, knight d7. The idea is castles knight b8 after the next move. Bishop e7, bishop takes c6, b takes c, knight takes d4, and knight b8. Only a player like Bronstein could come up with this, although I'm not even certain he was the inventor. But it's a little bit more interesting and fun than going down the main line of this variation, which is just like thankless. Knight takes d4, and now bishop c5. So, I don't know bishop c5 that well. The main line is bishop d7, and it's just very, very boring. White has a steady position, it's basically like equal. Now, bishop c5 was not something I'm familiar with too deeply. This was covered by Roman 25 years ago, heavily in his videos. I just don't really know it. Knight takes c6 is some sort of mistake. So, I mean, white has to play bishop. You could play bishop takes c6 check, I guess, but bishop e3 keeping the tension. And then, I don't know. You could transpose, I guess, with bishop here, pawn takes, knight d2. I mean, I don't know. Roman used to play this against computers, and he had it all worked out, like 30 moves for white to like some sort of forced draw. He could draw computers 25 years ago with the white pieces. But this just looks like it's a patent mistake. Here. White plays this. Like he knew the variation, but he didn't know even one move into the theory. Immediately, like, knight takes c6 is some kind of trap. Mark Hebden against Burgess. That's weird. Burgess in 2008 allowing this. Berger. How do you say that in French? Berger. It's not Berger, right? That would be different. It's Bergaz. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's not really a normal French name. I played him in Budapest. We need Blobix to pronounce it for us. It looks more Spanish to me. Hamburgues. But anyway, I don't understand like how I am is like playing this with white against Mark Hebden in 2008. I mean, that's really strange. That just has to be a blunder. He's allowing bishop takes f2 check intentionally. Let's take a look. I mean, is it possible this is actually a legitimate move? Wow. I mean, it did cross my mind. Luke is an IM. He's not an idiot, you know. So you face a player of Hebden's strength with the white pieces to intentionally allow bishop takes f2 a check. There's only 2 games. Another Greek game. 2011 of all things. But you got Mark Hebden playing black. He's playing in the World Senior Championship now. For England. Mark's a good guy. I like him a lot. Very good e4, e5 player. Classical, aggressive, knows his stuff. The Z at the end for Bergaz. You played your shortest decisive game against him, 18 moves. What does that mean? You were winning? I played him in Budapest. Maybe I played him twice. Can't remember. One was a quick draw. Bishop takes f2 check. This is Bergaz purposely playing a weird move, it looks like, not by accident. I can't imagine he blundered this. He purposely like hoped that Hebden wouldn't know what to do here. Maybe to throw him off. There's no way this is an accidental blunder of bishop takes f2 check. King f1. Oh, so Bergaz played king e2. Wow. That is messed up. What? Now I'm starting to think this is a joke. Is this a joke? The Blob knows all about European chess. Obviously, he won. You were dead at move 14. I can't believe this is a real game. He played king e2. So after bishop g4 check, king d3. Heavy. Now Heavy could play like knight c5 check, which gets really weird. You got to admit, I mean, I'm kind of skeptical that this is okay for white. I'm not even sure what happens here. Bishop takes d1. Knight takes a7, c6. I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind. Sorry. Hallucination. Bishop takes d1, knight takes d8 check, king takes d8, rook takes d1. Am I missing something? Bishop takes d1, knight takes d8 check, king takes d8, rook takes d1. That doesn't seem right. Does that seem right? This is winning for white. Oh, we're down a piece. Black's down a piece. Wow. I thought we were up a rook. That's instructive. That's ridiculous, actually. So bishop g4 is a good move. It's the best move. And then after king d3, Hebden's queen d7 would be best. It's good to know that I'm not the only one that's like clueless here. The actual players in the game are clueless too. So, I mean, it's hard to resist playing bishop g4 check. The point is, after this, you just go queen d7, and now it's not a losing position. It's like a winning position. That's crazy. I mean, clearly, like, you know, king f1 is okay. You can play it, you know. Let's see what this is. No, this has to be critical. Leave it to the Greek guys to figure it out. Black played queen h4. And the game ended in a draw. But the engine says b takes c, bishop takes c6 check, and then king f8. Now, who would have thought of that? Actually, it's a very sharp position. Crazy. So bishop takes a8, bishop a6 a la Morphy. Oops. That's not good. So this is actually really kind of interesting. If Bergès wants to try this again, looks like he should go for queen h4. Black should go for queen h4. This is more fun though. Take, bishop takes, king f8. Anyway, let's see what Uber Driver did. So Uber Driver is exploring critical theory in the Bergès gambit. Bishop takes c6 check, king f8. Oh no. The guy did it. He took on a8. Come on now. That's embarrassing. Clearly you can't take on a8. The question is, what should white do? Best line by engine is c4, leading to total chaos. Now we play the Greek variation, queen h4. Man, this is a sharp position. It's giving me a headache. So you can see what Uber Driver did. He just cheapoed the guy. Bishop a6, it's over. That's not enough material for the queen. It's like an acerbate submission. Takes. I like bishop b6, nice and efficient. I think the king needs to find a good location. Can we get the king in the game? Maybe today. Maybe Jim's idea of g5. White should decline it with king f5 though. Objectively, g5 is much more justified here than in Jim's game. This is a legit g5. King f5, e3 check. That's a problem. And now it's just enter the dragon. Too many pieces. Mating attack and massive material advantage. So, what was that? What? So knight takes g5, rook takes f1. It wasn't pretty, but he got it done. Still practical chance here to go wrong. Uber Driver really made it look kind of difficult. I think that was for the audience. There goes the knight. All right, dude. 21 moves. You sent it to me. Maybe we can see. All right, we're running out of time. We have half an hour left, and I've got Antony. We could add a Blobix game. Blobix beating the young Luc Bergès. He's probably around the same age as me, I guess. I'm not 100% sure. Could be older than me. I'm not really gonna reveal my true age. I'm rumored to be. I'm rumored to be born in. I don't say it. I'm rumored to be 39. Bob knows it's true. All right. So Tony has a position for us. Advice on how to play this middle game position and similar ones. Surely I can't be that old. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous, Bob. I mean, if you're gonna lie, like, you should at least, like, if you're gonna lie, you should at least make it a realistic lie, saying I was born in 1972. It's absurd. How could I be that old? Look at me. What are you talking about? You should see me, au natural. Would refute any fake news. All right, so look at this position, man. Wow, this is like very similar to a game I showed. Actually, a game you should check out, Antony. I mean, this had to be a Queen's Gambit Exchange variation. That's a fun party game to play with your 900 girlfriend. Oh, no, I was talking about something else. Sorry, that was something else. Guess the opening, I call it. That's the fun party game. You can play guess the opening. Like, show people, like, middle game positions and see how quickly they can guess the opening. That shows I'm a true international master. I can guess the opening in under 10 seconds. If I played just the London system, like Cyrus Lakdawala, I might not be able to guess the opening. But since I play all sorts of different openings, I'm flexible. No, there's a really, really good game I recommend you study. It's Botvinnik Kiris. Botvinnik Kiris Soviet Championship 1952. Round 8. Serious now. It was a slaughter. He took him to the woodshed, beat him down. I know exactly the round year tournament. Botvinnik Kiris, Soviet Championship Moscow, 1952. 1-0. Basically what happened was Kiris allowed like e5, the black knight went here, and then he had a visitor. An alien visitor came in from e4 to d6 and just like ruined his life, and that was it. Game over. He couldn't shake the knight on d6, and it just like totally devastated black. In that game, the white queen was over here on like f2, which is actually an important position. This move here, by the way, b6, doesn't help black's cause. I think it's necessary to put pressure on the white center. In the game, like, Kiris could have played queen b6, maybe attack the d4 pawn, bring the rook over, attack the d4 pawn. This is a great position for white, actually. Obviously, whoever has the move here is going to be happier, but it's a typical hanging pawn situation where if black could put pressure on those pawns to the point where white would be restricted, tied down, then maybe black would be equal, possibly even better. But as you can see, even with a move here, like rook d8, queen f2, well, actually, let's see, rook d8. If black is to move, let me say this, if white is to move, I think black is screwed in this position. It looks really bad. One move you could just play is like h3 with white. H3 to stop any sort of knight g4, and then it's like queen f2, any sort of pressure on d4, we could just move bishop e1. Having the move here would obviously give black much better chances to generate some kind of counterplay, but it may be too late anyway. We have to zone in on d4 immediately, so probably something like queen b4. It might be too strong though. Even so, I mean, even if black is to move here, I'm thinking like queen b4, e5, queen d4 check, king h1, and it's over. You know, you're losing a queen, and there's no time for anything else. So if there's no way to put pressure on the center, Antony, black is screwed. You're actually white in this position, okay? Well, I mean, it doesn't matter which side you are, you know, objectively. We're just talking about the position. If black can't put pressure on the white center, he's done. You know, okay, he could try to defend. There's this threat. There's this threat. You know, maybe like a passive move, like, I don't know, knight h7. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for black. All right. Let's see what the engine says. It's okay for black. Black is to move. It is okay. c5. I was concerned this might be too strong. But if you can blockade, black has time for bishop g4 and something like knight d7. Maybe black is okay. But it's very precarious, you know. If you made, like, I don't know, 2 random masters play this position, 100 games, white is going to score much better than black. I guarantee it. Even if the engine says, like, okay, c5 is equal. That's, like, the only move that's equal, and it's, like, by pure tactical means, like, black might be okay here. A very, very dangerous position for black. I don't like it. Okay, so we've got a submission for Blobix. No. Antony, no. We've got Bob Sack sending in. I agree, I'm unstable. Secret. All right, Bob. Classical chess. Bob and I had a little disagreement earlier. We're over it now. We've kissed and made up. Classical chess. Blizzard. Blizzard with white. Blizzard 3388. Blizzard has 3 inaccuracies, no mistakes, no blunders. 20 move. Bob's even learning Hungarian from me. All right. I'm teaching him Hungarian. Meaty kisses. So, Blizzard is white. This is his submission. I'm not a huge fan of b3, but how bad can it be? I think it's much better, by the way, you know, to play knight f3 and then on d5 play b3 than just to play b3 straight away. This is much weaker, you know, than playing knight f3 b3. I think it's more hyper modern. It's not as good. Padre and Antony, what seems that white won by force in that position? I would not guarantee that, but as I told you during the stream, all you have to do is look at the game I told you about. It's a very clear plan of e5, knight e4, and knight d6. That's the biggest danger facing black. I mean, that's an extremely dangerous plan. I don't know how black stops that if white's to play there. You should push for e5 and establish a knight on d6. A very dangerous plan. Going back to the last position. But I think the game that I referenced will speak for itself, Antony. b3, so c5. This is ambitious. I should flip the board to be on Martin Kessler's side. I mean, black is black. He's down a move. You know, you're playing like you're white with black when you're down a move. It's a risky strategy, although I think c5 is okay. Now bishop e2, knight c6, e3. So the bishop e5 is kind of a threat. Black might want to go to the extreme of playing a6, but we get into this argument of whether, being black, do you have time for such moves? Yeah, I think we do. Is c4 good? This is probably interesting. To play a sharp line of Queen's Indian, like with an extra move, perhaps. Korchnoi lost against Alex Rabinovich. Not a good result. Slight 250-point upset there in 2000. Korchnoi was probably like cursing and throwing the pieces, calling him all sorts of names. That was his usual procedure when he took an upset in 2000. But no, maybe not. I mean, d4. We'll have to do a fianchetto on the king side. Let's see, ed4, cd4. Man, I was thinking g3. Can we do this? Apparently it's not even viable. Very bad for white. It's too much over the line. I wanted to play dynamically. White has to play d3. That looks really lame. No wonder Korchnoi lost. What did he do here? Korchnoi didn't do that, did he? He did that. Did bishop d3. See, this, kids, is how you lose. You start playing the snake Benoni with white. Poor Korchnoi. He went a little too far. It's a cool idea, but he's pushing the envelope to play the snake Benoni. I don't know, man. It was a risky decision. Anyways, this is not Blizzard's game. Blizzard wouldn't play c4. I don't think he would play like d4. It's a much safer move. Not as fun though. So anyway, back to the game. Real game. We have knight f3, bishop e2, knight c6, e3, f6. Grishuk versus Caruana from 2018. This is another move that pushes the envelope for black. I mean, like, Steinitz had a game where he was white. I think probably early in his career, he did some crazy stuff, like he was playing d4, c4, knight c3, and f3 on move 4, like a Queen's Gambit, man. You know, even, I mean, any genius can get a little bit too experimental. But when white sets up the fianchetto here, we're essentially playing one of those like accelerated Queen's Indians. Again, white does this when he has an extra move against the accelerated Queen's Indian. The question becomes, can black get away with doing what white would normally do in this position? You know, we're asking a little bit too much, so I feel like let me show you guys. There's a variation Blobix is of course familiar with. d4, knight f6, c4, b6, knight c3. So it's like what? Bishop e7, f3, d5, c takes d5, knight takes d5, e4, knight takes c3, b takes c3, and now you can play e6, but you can also play e5. But keep in mind, you know, white is white and black is black in this position. Can we get away with doing the same thing if we're a move behind? That's the question. White has already played e3, essentially. So you want to try to do the same sort of thing. There's your extra move. You already used it. So maybe I'm justifying f6. d4, cd4. No. So what about this? cd4, knight d4, e5. Now if you play e4, you're black. But if you play another move, you're a tempo up on the e3 line. It looks to be playable for both sides. Strangely, there's no games there. So this is just better to play ED. I guess I'm not really getting this position. This is how Grisha Caruana went from 2018. Our link's allowed in the chat. I think I found the Bhavina Kiri's game. Yeah, absolutely. You can find that anywhere. Really famous tournament. It's Soviet Championship. All the games are in every database. You can post that. Kira's got destroyed. Wasn't a good game for him. So, yeah, this is interesting. Grishuk is really principled. You know, so is Caruana, obviously. Alright, anyways. So the actual game is d4 e6, which looks strange. Starting in money, every French schools are closed. What about fresh restaurants? French restaurants. That's the important thing. Are the restaurants closed? We've got open schools here. The situation in Hungary is under control for the moment. France, Spain, you know, Netherlands, Germany, there's way more testing and way more cases. But we're not at the epicenter here. So this e6 looks funny to me. You know, it looks slow. You're coming from the middle of the Italy, right in the middle of Lombardy. Actually, Antonia's in the middle of it too. Bob, don't make jokes, man. You'll feel, you know, differently about it when you're 70 years old. Knight on BD2. Bishop D6. Bob's been watching Fox News. Probably. Knight on BD2, Bishop D6, Bishop E2. So this move is too conservative, feels like. We've got to punish him for playing F6, Martin Kessler. When I see F6, when I see this move, and I see the white squares there, of course you're thinking like, okay, Queen H5 or whatever. The secret against F6 is to tear this diagonal apart. Here. I mean, this applies in many different openings. But I think this is our secret. We've got to get in C4. We've got to tear at this diagonal. So that's what he did, but next move. But maybe he should go ahead. But it's not that India is spared, Bob. It just hasn't gotten there yet, you know. It takes a while for it to travel, dude. Like, Iran is getting devastated by it the worst, probably. I would think, like, the conditions there are much worse than, like, Italy. Their ability to deal with it. If there's any real horror show, it would be, you know, right there. Bishop E2 is not dynamic enough. Knight on GD7 and then C4. Good, but this probably should be played. Probably we want to play like C4. Yeah, I mean India it will cause huge problems. Clearly. Obviously enacting a European travel ban is gonna solve the situation in the United States. Anyways. Bishop D6, Bishop E2, Knight G7, C4. B6. B6 is kind of weird. He's already got white square weaknesses over here. How is he going to solve that by playing B6, Bishop B7? Yeah, this is too passive. But actually, I think already Martin Kessler... You need to get him like right here. You need to be as sharp as possible in this position. I mean, I'm looking at extreme stuff like Knight H4. That feels kind of against principle. Feels like it's got to be c4 right away for white best. Though there's no refutation. This move just doesn't cut it. No, now we're playing bullet chess. You know, this is just ridiculous. h3. Although maybe white's position is already like too timid to gain a serious advantage here. h3 can't be critical. I mean, I don't like this arrangement with the queen. You should have been more active with bishop d3. In this case now our pieces are kind of passively placed. It's fine. It's kind of like a solid defensive setup for white. But you're not doing anything. The black just gives up his center for no reason at all. Hey, here's the center. Take it. He thought he was opening his bishop on b7, I guess. But I mean, you know, this is central pawn. It's your strong point. Giving that up is significant. So takes. I agree. Knight takes c4 is a logical move. It's a good move. I think the engine wants to play bc. Maybe there's some other secret move here I don't see. Is this something special? D takes c5. Bishop takes c5. Doesn't look great. Building the center with just b takes c. I think we can try to roll them with the central pawns. That would be my first guess. We try to just overwhelm black with our central pawns with d5 if we can get it in. Paul Kiris, big lover of hanging pawns, but you took with a knight, which is more conservative. Less pawn moves, less weaknesses, but less dynamics. CD4. CDC. Okay, Martin Kessler just played this like kind of conservatively. But actually black created the problem for himself with this situation with the queen and bishop on d6. Just grab that. I also don't like that move. I guess he calculated knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4, knight f5, attacking d4 and guarding that bishop on d6. So we grab the bishop pair. Take, 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 take. There's a threat of this. White's got a better ending, but it's not really a great structure for two bishops versus bishop and knight. You know, it's totally symmetrical. Black plays e5, the bishop on b2 will be shut down. So, actually, there is a threat of rook c7. But ultimately, if black could just play one more move, he would be basically totally equal here. He's one move away from equalizing. And now, if e5, bishop c4 check, he played this. I mean, first of all, like rook takes rook, rook takes rook. Here, here, you're going to have to play into this ending where white has a very, very small advantage. It should probably be a draw, but you can try to win. You have good practical chances still. I would prefer not to allow so much simplification. Rook d8, rook c8, rook takes, rook here. So we got the same ending finally. I mean, this is okay, bishop d5, but why? You know, I don't really get it. Like, whatever. I wouldn't give white another chance to keep the rooks on the board, but maybe you couldn't. Anyway, this should be a draw. Black has to have good technique. b4, and then probably this is good. Also good is e5. It's a draw. White has a symbolic advantage. And then, well, really, I think you want to trade bishops. But if bishop c4, he has bishop d1. Still, it's equal. Black's knight is okay, and it should be a draw. But Mark Kessler like flagged him or something. Let's see, e5, king f2 here. Fine, whatever. This is just a dead draw. After knight c4 check. Black didn't play it. I mean, forget about it. But anyway, like white's advantage is almost indecipherable here. So he goes on to win, but objectively this should be a draw. White should have gotten more from that position. So at some point here, the game goes on, I don't know, much further, but we're going to get going. I've got one last thing to mention. Blabik's game against Burgess, a short game. Let's see what this is. Blabik's won, of course. A minor upset. Bullet chess. No, it wasn't bullet chess. 1995. 1995. Good year. Burgess is white against the Blob. French Classical Cup. The tournament has been postponed. Why can't I flip the board? Hello? Alright. No. Actually, Burgess is still playing the same thing. Oh no, he played the C3 Sicilian against me. So we did have 2 games. I remember now. I played him with black in a C3 Sicilian because he tricked me. He played he played E4, C5, knight F3, E6, C3. I don't remember if I lost or drew. I try to forget the games I lost. I really don't remember if I lost or drew. It was a C3 Sicilian. If I expunged it from my memory, there's a good chance I lost. Do you guys do the same thing with the games you lost? The losses are much more likely to get like erased from my memory than the games I won or interesting draws. My other game with French IM Luc Burgess was relatively quick draw with the white pieces. He actually played the accelerated dragon against me. I played E4. But he went like knight A5 and grabbed my bishop on B3, and I was kind of depressed and allowed a quick draw. Om's on Twitch, subscribe, welcome. Great to see. Om's mentioned you earlier because somebody played the Petrosian. There was a game, Petrosian slow hands game with black against Petrosian. Petrosian, King's Indian, and I thought of you, Om's. Has the stream going on for 4 hours? What? You played this against Afek and lost, and Klaus Klunt in 1987. Good years. This stream has been going on for 2.5 hours. That's the only stream we need to know about. E4, C5, D4. So he must have Burgess must have started out playing this garbage before he graduated to playing the C3 Sicilian, as he later did against me. The Mora Gambit is a good opening for beginners. D4, C takes D4, C3. And now Blabix should just take the pawn, you know, but declines it with D5. Technically a mistake. You're letting him play like a reasonable variation of the C3. I mean, we'd rather be slightly better than equal or slightly worse. It's funny. If you decline the Mora, you're slightly worse. If you decline the Mora, you're slightly worse. But if you take the Mora, you're slightly better. It's like, which one do you want? Of course, this is 1984 or something, you said? All right. Anyway, it's fun. It's all good in good fun. D5, E takes D5, Queen takes D5. This is not a bad line, but white does have a tiny edge. It's basically a kind of C3 Sicilian. Maybe also the Danish Gambit. Knight C6, Knight F3. This is a fun variation. Strangely recommended, of all people we mentioned earlier, Joe Gallagher. I thought it's also possible for white to play Knight C3 here, isn't it? Is that bad? Could somebody... What's the deal with this pawn sack? It's just bad? Huh. My bad. I guess I'm remembering something else. Knight F3, Bishop g4. Best move? E5 is the move that Gallagher strangely recommended in his book Beating Anti-Sicilians. I always thought it was a very, very strange choice to recommend this variation for black. It's actually like thankless with almost no winning chances. I think that Gallagher just tried to find a quick idea for his book. Of course, there is no easy way to play against the c3 Sicilian. But I wouldn't really try this. It's just all very forcing and slightly better for white. Bishop g4 is more interesting. So now, you know what? There might have been some renewed interest in this in recent years. Brian Smith might have done some analysis on this in on chesslecture.com, the site that I've worked for. Brian was recommending some systems where black plays like a delayed knight f6. He actually puts the knight on e7 sometimes. Let's see what Blavix did here. Knight c3, bishop takes f3. So this is some weird variation. I guess there's nothing you can do though. Bishop g4, knight c3, you have to take. Can you try to play something else like queen a5? So this is just bad. Then I must be confusing the move order with something else. This is just bad. Maybe Smith was recommending a different move order. Levante Vida lost to this guy in 2018. That's frightening. How did he lose? Okay, bishop takes f3. G takes f. Queen takes d4. I don't know how Levante lost with white. Queen takes d4, knight takes d4, knight b5. That would be the game that I would file. I would follow. Vida played knight. He played bishop b5 check. What is that? So this is some kind of move to mess up his opponent. It just backfired. That's bad. It was a bad gamble. That was probably played in here in Hungary, obviously. Very bad gamble by Levante to play bishop b5 check to avoid theory against a low-rated player. Didn't work out. So knight b5, e5. I recall seeing the Stevich Topalov game. Black's supposed to play this. You can never trust the engine on these variations where rooks get captured in the corner. King d1. Man, I have no idea. King d1, knight a1, knight c7 check, king d7, knight takes a8. Never trust an engine when it's involving like knights getting trapped in the corner of the board in long variations. I learned that in like 1985, around the time when Blavix played this game. So this is actually going to be really annoying for both sides. It looks like the best line though. All right. Queen takes d4, knight takes d4, knight b5, e5. An old school inaccuracy. Knight c7 check, king d7, knight a8. And then bishop e4 check, surprising all of us. White could play king d1 here. I don't know. It is kind of hard to resist king d1. So this is the game Stevich versus Topalov from 2010. Wow. So here White apparently just played like a bad move. The only way not to win. Apparently White is Topalov just played into like a really bad position. He was influenced by Blobix. Bishop b4 check, bishop d2, bishop d2. Yeah, this is weird. So Blobix, why didn't you play knight takes f3 check? King d1 was your game versus Clunt. Yeah. Obviously, knight takes f3 check makes a lot of sense. What are we afraid of? Is it like king d1, knight takes d2, a3 or something? I don't understand. There's bishop h3 check. This is the problem. Leading to this really weird situation with bishop h3 check. That's, I guess, what he was afraid of. So what you can do, I guess after king there, you could even play like bishop takes d2. This has got to be really strange position. Bishop g2, knight h4, bishop takes b7. What a weird game. This will just make your head spin. So bishop e4 check. I mean, another question is knight c2 check, but I mean, I guess it's just good for white. Knight takes a8, bishop e4 check here. So you took, and this is a lot more clear now. You're just down a rook, no problem. Knight e7, f4. Oh my god. How could you possibly win this position? That's ridiculous. e4. You're basically down a rook. And then rook d1, knight f5, bishop c4. He's not even taking the knight on a8. He's playing for an attack. The optimistic. Yeah, I mean, if he takes on f7, it's probably kind of good for black, maybe. What's that? He actually moved his bishop. Oh my god. I mean, and like b3, b5 is interesting, you know? This move like kills it. I'm cheating with the engine here, but this move. That looks like it's the end of the road, objectively, to Blobix's fancy tricks. Berget, he let him down on the 7th rank. Oh my god. You know you're asking for trouble when you did that. So is like e3 gonna kill him? But e3 will allow the bishop to defend f3. King e1, e3. Does e3 even work, though? That's the game. I'm not looking at the last moves. I want to figure it out on my own. So king e1, e3. Pawn takes e3. Rook e2 check. King f1. Knight takes e3 check. OMG. King g1. But what's the next move? I don't see a mate. There's something I'm missing here. Let's see, e3. But dude, I mean, you gotta take it. It's unbelievable. Where's the win? Was this like mutual time pressure or something? This is the funny part. Rook e2 check, we just take his rook. Maybe that's it. So if he take, it's just like rook e2 check, king f1, knight takes e3 check, king g1, knight takes d1. Maybe you're winning there. Takes, check, king here, knight takes e3 check, king g1, and I guess I forgot you could just take his rook. It's kind of anticlimactic, but it looks somewhat favorable for black, considering his pieces are sort of strangely placed. This is kind of winning. Yeah, I mean, so it's understandable, actually. That's the only move, though. It's forced. You just have to take the rook. Anything else is not good enough. So basically, it was really hard to find a move here. How about castling? Is that legal? I don't think so. He should have tried to illegally castle and confuse Blobix. I try to do that in Blitz sometimes. After 5 tries, I still can't figure out why I can't pick up my king and move it to g1. I'm not sure the castling would have solved all his problems. But at least it would have kept him alive. I guess e2 would be kind of problematic there. Castles isn't going to get him out of it. So he has this miraculous move, rook d3. Impossible to find, like, in Blitz or in a time pressure situation. Just, it's unbelievable that that move holds. You must have thought you were winning for sure here. Blobix would have accepted him castling. This is unbelievable that rook d3 saves the game. Surely I would have like gotten up from the board and been walking around like confident I'm 100% winning in this position once he allowed this. That's sick. The rook d3 saves the game for white. That's insane. Even if he is up a rook. And the best you have is to draw a repetition. That's unbelievable. What a sick position. You can even try like rook e2 check. But according to the engine, you're like slightly worse there. Okay, anything could have happened. But, man. Unbelievable. So he played this. Rook takes d4. Oops. Oh man, it's forced mate. That's only a little bit of a problem. That must have been satisfying. Like, if he takes with the pawn, you mean pawn takes here? We looked at that. Rook e2, king f1, knight takes e3, king g1, and black's winning here. Too active. So yeah, e takes f2 check. And you have a choice of mates, king d1 or king f1. Those pieces are interestingly placed on h1 and a8, and that's the end of the game. King d1 and e3. Nice game. That's the way we played chess in the mid-80s. When did you say this game was from, actually? 95. Okay. 95. When men were men. And Bob wasn't even born yet. Bob was just he was a twinkle in his mother's eye. Well, maybe he was around, but barely. He was toddling around. So, good game, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to pack it in now. Time to go. Get some rest for tomorrow's morning stream. I will, yeah, anyway, I will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. CET here. If you're on lockdown, you know where to go. We've got a morning stream at 11 a.m. and we're going to play some Blitz 5+3 against challengers. Thanks everybody for submitting games and for supporting the stream. It's been my pleasure to host this game analysis. We had some interesting stuff though. I like this final game though. It was good. Thanks for stopping by, Blovix. Always a pleasure. You always submit something quality for the stream. I will see you guys later. Thanks everybody from the pond and myself. Have a great week. I'll see you Friday morning and Sunday for our simul, 6:30 p.m. CET on Sunday night. Bye bye, guys. Don't forget not to leave the lockdown. Okay, so you got the stream. Keep you entertained. Bye bye.